The film Gone with the Wind released in 1939, and it was instantly a huge hit. Reporters concluded the movie to be the mightiest achievement in the history of motion picture. The movie features Scarlett O'Hara, a young Southern belle as she faces the oncoming U.S. Civil War. Scarlett cares little about the war and more about her love for the handsome Ashley Wilkes. At the same time, a wealthy man named Rhett Butler strives to steal her heart. Throughout the movie, Scarlett uses deception and manipulation to get what she wants and to survive the war that destroys her home. But what would be different if the movie was told from the perspective of Mammy, Scarlett's maidservant? How would the purpose of the film shifted? And would the movie been successful? Mammy, played by Hattie McDaniel, is a very influential supporting character in Gone with the Wind. She is seen throughout the film as being very mothering and strict with Scarlett.
What my lamb going to wear?
That?
No, you ain't. You can't show your bosom for 3 o'clock. I'm going to speak to your ma about you.
If you say one word, Mother, I won't eat a bite.
She also shows much sympathy for Scarlett and remains loyal to her throughout the film. Mammy's prevalence in the movie then makes it possible for the movie to be shot from her point of view. One thing that would change about the film is that the romance between Scarlett, Ashley, and Rhett would not act as the focal point for the movie. Mammy's view would point out the ridiculousness of Scarlett's relationship with men, rather than the drama of Scarlett's life. In Gone with the Wind, Mammy often looked upon Scarlett's relationships with disapproval or shock for her lack of apathy. If Mammy was the main character, then the focus of the film would show how she reacts to Scarlett's actions. More scenes of Mammy guiding Scarlett would be present rather than how Scarlett emotionally reacts to not getting what she wants. The audience would also see Scarlett's actions as more ridiculous as they are seen through the eyes of another character. This rhetoric would put Mammy's logic and actions above those of Scarlett. Another difference in switching the perspective of Gone with the Wind to that of Mammy is that the audience at the time would have received the film differently. The original film had support from the African American community and organizations due to its use of black actors. Unfortunately, the movie did display slaves as loyal and helpless, which caused controversy around the film in the African American community. However, if Mammy was the main character, the movie would have been recognized even more for propelling civil rights. Mammy acts as a strong character, and this new movie would be the first to show an African American woman with influence over a white woman, Scarlett. It would also be the first time a movie featured a slave as the main character. By portraying a strong African American woman, maybe the civil rights movement would have started even earlier. However, the racial political scene of the 1940s was not very open to change. According to an article by PBS, in much of America in the 1940s, racial segregation was strictly enforced by both Jim Crow laws and by age-old custom. The civil rights movement was still in its infancy. Laws ensuring voting rights and equal access to jobs and public facilities were decades away. A movie featuring a lead female black woman would have made great strides for the African American community, but would have likely received uproar in much of the United States. If a black woman was the lead in a film, then it would suggest that blacks were equal to whites, rather than the subservient position that was currently placed in society. Many white Americans at the time probably would not see a film focused on the life of an African American woman, considering they saw African Americans unfit to share the same restaurants, transportation, and public facilities as them. This unfortunate fact further proves that the film Gone with the Wind reflected the times of the 1940s and placed African Americans in a lowly position. A Gone with the Wind featuring Mammy as the protagonist would surely be a great film, considering her amazing acting skills and sassy personality. The whole focus of the plot would shift from a romantic triangle between a woman and 2 men to how Southern society was viewed through the eyes of a slave. Regrettably, racial, political, and societal conditions of the time would have not made this version of Gone with the Wind possible.